Hello again everyone. Today we're here making our succulent jellyfish. Now it's looking pretty bare at the moment. Don't have an example with me, but I'm sure it's gonna look super cute very soon. So we've got our lovely frame. If you guys have bought one of our kits, then you should have everything good to go. But if you haven't, then you want to get yourself, we've just used some sort of like small bird netting, created this sort of jellyfish shape, stuffed it with moss, closed it off, and then it was good to go. And then you'll also need or have, we just use little chopsticks or just a stick, whatever you want. And that's just to help us with our planting process. We've got some tacky glue and a paintbrush, and that's just going to help us apply it. If you do my workshops or if you are at home doing this yourself, then you can go out and buy this from Spotlight or cheapo stores. You get it in bottle form, obviously. For our kits, we pop it in this. Got a little bit of twine, and that's just going to help you hang your jellyfish. And then of course we've got our lovely suckies, our lovely lengths, and then our suckies here. So before we get cracking, I thought I'd have a little chat about the tacky glue process. A lot of people have a little heart attack when they find out that we're actually using the tacky glue to stick our succulents in. So this is water-based, non-toxic. It's not going to harm the succulents anyway. The suckies have also been in cutting form for a couple of days, so that ensures that no moisture is going to get into that succulent and cause rot whilst it's establishing. Succulents are super resilient. They've got these really chubby, cute little leaves on them, and that's where they store all their moisture. So they do that so they can go a very long period of time without water, which is good for this sort of process because you glue it in. Of course, they don't have any roots yet. They're not really absorbing any water. So it gives them a good week, 2 weeks, even 3 weeks for them to establish into this and start actually absorbing water through their roots. But until then, they'll be good to just chill. These ones, however, a little bit different. Of course, you can see they're not as plump. They're sort of long, skinny strands. Will need a little bit more water, a little bit more love. If you look carefully, you can't really see it on camera. Let's see if I can bring this guy up. Not sure if it'll focus. But there's tiny little sort of nodes on each of these spots, and that's actually where it's going to absorb their water for now. So when you are watering it, make sure you give this a good soaking, of course, and then you're also going to be spraying it along the lengths of your little jellyfish tendrils. Alrighty, I think that's a good little intro for now. Well, I'm Bea from Bea's Quirky Creations, hence the name, Quirky Creations. Let's get started. Okie dokie. Now, we're going to start off with gluing our suckies on, of course, but before we do that, we're going to be using our natural twine just to create some sort of hangy part for our jellyfish. Now you do want to be careful, you want to sort of loop it through a couple of them, that way it's going to hang nice and evenly with your suckies. So let's give this a crack. Try and find that center point. I might even go under a few. Whoop, whoop, whoop. There we go. It's a bit tricky because it kind of blends in with the moss. Makes it a bit tricky. What? Okay, we're back. I just had to scoot off for a moment. Cool, so that's looking pretty good. Let's have a try and see how that's hanging now. Well, you guys can't really see it on camera, but that's hanging pretty well to me. Sitting nice and flat. Of course, when we put our suckies on, we'll have to make sure that we're keeping a nice even sort of distribution of our suckies, weight-wise. I'm just going to pop that off to the side. And now comes the fun part. So if you have a look at, if you've got one of our kits, it should all be good to go. But you want a good mixture of sort of medium to smalls, to those really tiny little babies that we've got over here. Super cute. And that's just going to ensure you get a nice sort of cool effect happening, and it's going to start out bigger to our mediums, and then I like to do the babies around the edges here. Can be a bit tricky, because as you get here, it's quite vertical, as you can see. So sticking those suckies on is a bit of a trick, a bit of a patience game. You're definitely going to be patient, but doing, obviously in our workshops, it's a bit tricky because you're on a time schedule, but doing it at home, you can sort of do the top section, let it sit, let it glue in place, move along and keep them going. This is a bit of a two-part thing, so I like to do the suckies first, top, and then I let it fully set before I move on to these. It is a bit tricky, of course, because these have to be stuck underneath while the rest are on top. So I let it glue, then I'll gently just sort of rest it on the Suckies whilst I glue those afterwards. Okay, let's get started on the fun part. I'll stop talking quite so much now. Do a little bit more chatting, and then I'll speed up the video and you can just watch along. So I'm going to start at the top here. Make a nice deep hole. Now if you have a look at your Suckies, I've already stripped this one previously to ensure it has a decent stem on it. Not so much of a problem when you go to these little ones because they're a bit more weightless, but for the big boys, you want to make sure it's nice and deep. That way it's not going to wobble around and it's a bit easy for you to glue in place. So just with that in mind, it's a bit of a big stem, so I'll make a bigger hole. And then, using our tacky glue, which will dry completely clear, so don't stress about that, I'm going to pretty well just blob a heap of glue in there. And then grabbing our big guy, pushing it all the way in. Making sure that I'm not affecting my twine there too much. Cool. And then from there, what I'll do, so I might organize these a little bit. Look at our mediums. And then we sort of span down into our smallest. We've also got lots of little fillery ones, so what I'll do is I'll leave those till last, and when you got all those little gaps, I'll just go through and sort of plop that in, fill it all up. There's lots of different types. We've got these boys, little cute fluffy one. Honestly, I do know the names of these, but there's so many that I'm not going to rattle them off right now. Cool, I think that's most of the fillery bits. We call this one lettuce leaf. This one's Succkies. Make up our own names half the time. Okay, so, oh, excuse me. Moving along. Put a nice big blob of glue again. Now for the bigger ones, of course, you'll need a decent amount of glue, but as you work your way down, nice big, good bit of stem. Now it's completely up to you guys how you want to arrange your Suckies. I like to do a really nice clustered effect, but if you guys want to space it out a little bit, that's up to you. Cool thing about succulents, and people always get really concerned with our pieces because they're like, oh, you know, is it going to grow really quickly, da 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 da. But the cool thing about Suckies is that they're sort of like a fish. They restrict themselves, so if they know that they don't have a lot of root space to grow, they will constrict themselves and sort of stunt in growth. Of course, they'll still grow, but eventually it'll be a lot slower. Let's have one of my leaves fall off. How's my twine looking? Oh, still good. Alright, so this is where I'm going to leave you guys. I'll speed up the process and you can just watch along. Now, with this bit, what you want to do is it's obviously going to start to get a bit tricky from here. And as you've probably seen during the sped up part, is I continuously push on and cut my succulents. Nice and quite firm, but also gentle at the same time. Just make sure I apply that pressure nice and evenly. And then, I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing this because all your suckies could fall off and it can be very devastating. But just to show you that they do stick, I'm not going to tip it all the way upside down. They do stick in place. It's just a matter of being patient, adding a bit more glue. You can also, you also notice that if you add too much glue, it ends up getting a bit too soppy and they fall out, whereas if you add that perfect amount, they're happy to sit in place, and a part of it absorbs into that moss. That's why I do like to work with the dry moss. And then, yeah, it starts to hold in place. So you'll notice within, even now they're sticking a little bit, but you'll notice within about an hour or so, they'll really start to set and hold in place, and then within, you know, until the rest of the day, that's when this glue will start to go clear. Something else I was going to say, but now I forget. Yep, I forget. We'll come back. Moving along. I'll keep chugging away with these babies. Not so good.
You're only 5 hours.
Yes.
I guess it goes now.
And on top of
We did that? An hour 15 minutes. What? How much water? An hour 15 minutes. Look at all day now. Yes, it's we don't know. There's a lot of unknowns. It's probably I think we'll from down there a lot. You find all that?
yeah, the best anyone, but I was like, this video.
It's probably better than the never too fucking long enough. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Are the girls on the fire film?
Probably. So, I have let these guys sit for a while. You have a look carefully, they should hopefully be glued in place. I did leave some small gaps down the bottom here. It's completely up to you guys if you want to keep going all the way, if you want to leave some gaps. I pretty much just worked with the suckies that I had, and I find that that worked pretty well. So, moving on to the hanging plants. Now you can see that they're holding well enough, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, which side, maybe that's fine, just going to very gently tilt it, and I've got my trusty lid over here. I'm just going to use that to rest it up against gently. And now, It's sort of quite rustic and lots of wire happening in there. So you want to find that perfect center point and just going really deep in that hole. Filling that up with glue. And then, so we've got lots of little, I can't say the proper name for this, but we just call it pillow plant. It's a bit green at the moment, but if you have a look at these ones sort of carefully, you can see they're actually a little bit maroony in colour. So like any succulents, they change colour dependent on if they get the sun or the shade. I don't know why I keep singing. So yeah, you can see that these ones are quite green. That's because they've been in the shaded areas. And then this little one here has been in a bit more direct contact with the sun. So if you bought one of our kits, you should have lots of different lengths. Try and give that cool tendril effect happening. I'm going to start off with the longest one. Actually, you probably saw my lovely head. I'm not going to because it's a little bit off center, so I'm going to use one of the shorter sides. Remove a couple of those leaves so you've got a really nice stem to work with. And I'm just going to gently push it up into my hole. Now, I'm going to put the long strand right in the middle there. And again, it's up to you guys. If you want to space these out, you can sort of do tentacles all over, but I like to keep it nice and tight in the middle here. Now that I've got those 3 holes, I'm literally just going to go in and put heaps of glue in there, and I'm just going to push the other ones into the existing holes that are already there. Okay. Ooh, I actually snapped that guy. It's going to be a bit short in it. Beautiful. Oh, snapped it again. Be really gentle with these guys. Push that in. And to top it all off, I'll go through with a bit more glue again, just to make sure it's all without blocking it too much. Cool. I'm just going to let that sit for a bit, probably another hour or so, and then we'll come back and check on him. Sweet. And there we have it. Our succulent jellyfish tutorial. And I do need to fix up those bits of string because it's a little bit lopsided and I left it sitting on the side for way too long. So now it's a little smushed, but a little bit of a spruce up and that will be looking good as new. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Enjoy making your cute little sucky creations. And thank you for watching. Toodaloo!